XVM is huge.
Every factor comes into play. Like, if they're super bad on the other team and I'm top tier, I'm just literally gonna drive at them as fast as I can to try and rack up as much damage as I can, because with three of us, it's just gonna be a face roll.
Not only
Like,
that, but it encourages the rest of your team to play aggressive also. If you
well,
lead, they'll support you.
the trick is to get there and kill them before the rest of my team gets there, because that I don't need their help in a situation like that. I can take on the flank myself and kill all of them if they're bad. If they're like mediocre, I'll do the same thing, but I'll just be more cautious. Like, I won't push in and do it all by myself. I'll make sure that like one of my platoon mates will keep like our platoon together and do it, just so that we don't like nobody on the other team gets smart and tries to flank and push and all that stuff. Then we'll just have a couple extra numbers with us, and then we'll just work a whole flank and kill. If the other team's good, then we just do our job.
What map did you want, Mustang?
This works. Here, I'll bring a tier.
Cellcat, you gotta hit your battle button or bring you back in.
Want me to hit?
Wow, look at that. Cellcat.
Good. Alright, here we go.
Cellcat, and he's not in the OR.
Guys got all eights.
Can I get an invite here?
That's
We
funny.
just launched Devo, but we'll get you in right after this one.
Somehow I did not see that pop up.
I'm gonna go to like 3. You guys can just come down the 3 line. Like E3, F3.
User joined your channel.
I'm winning! I'm winning!
The XBM says we're gonna lose.
Actually, it says we only got an 86% chance to win.
Yeah, come on. You on the other side of the building?
Supposed to be hunting you or what? Alright.
This is kind of a bad corner.
User
Solid
joined your
corner
channel.
is something better.
Yeah, sorry I was late.
Okay, so you guys can stay on that side. Actually, everybody just come over like at like D3. I'll use this building because it's a solid corner. Here to show how to side scrape.
True, bro, is 28, bro.
I think that Unicron's a bot.
Okay, so basically okay, can everybody kind of see my crowd's position?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe it works if I'll have one or two people kind of shoot at me, and then everybody else can kind of come over behind me. Actually, where like Cellcat and Parrot are. Then you guys can probably see how I side scrape.
Yeah, I got the camera right above you, so I can see which angle you're shooting.
Okay, well, let's have okay, so who's back in like D3? Super P, just Livewire, just come over here. Your AP shell's not good enough to do anything anymore. Okay, so basically, like, if I come up to a corner, I'm just gonna, so I can't see, like, the prototype or the mod 1 or anything. So, like, what I do, like, you come up to a corner, so, like, say I'm coming from the courtyard. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up to the corner, and you're just gonna kind of drive into the corner, and then to side scrape, all you do is wiggle like this. So, if the T-28 prototype shoots me while I'm doing this, you can go ahead and shoot me. Of course. Anyways.
You want me to bounce?
Try and shoot again.
I'll bounce before.
There you go. Holy crap. Never mind. RNG is being... But anyways, at this angle, like, he shouldn't pen anything. TDs are more likely to go through, but this is exactly how I would side scrape and bait shots at players while I'm going through. So basically, like, I'm trying to bait a shot while side scraping. The IS-3, the trick with the IS-3 is, like, if you come out like this and you try and shoot, it's a problem because my pike is now facing in tank, and all he has to do is shoot the plate and it will pen. So you never do that. If you really want to truly like side scrape, if I have the time to fight a flank, I'll reverse side scrape. So now my turret's up front, so when I come to shoot, I have his side exposed, and all he's got is a thin plate on my front. Try shooting at me. There. Alright, so now I don't have to peek out that far. My front plate isn't gonna stick
User
out.
joined your channel.
And I drove out too far there, but basically you
User
hug the
joined your
wall, you
channel.
just pull out enough to shoot, so I can shoot him in the track him if I need to, try and bait the shot. But basically all you're trying to do is get him to fire, and when he fires then you pull out and make your shot. So I shoot, go back. If he shoots, it's pretty much auto bounce, and then you're just waiting. Like, you just wiggle, basically. Try and bait the shot. He shot, I should repair right before he fires again. Then all you do is you pull out and snap a quick shot back in. And then you're just doing the same thing. And sometimes you can wiggle your turret.
Hey, wake up.
That'll, they might aim at your cupolas, and so then I come out, pop a shot at him, use a repair kit, go back in. That's all you do. Side scraping with tanks with pike nose is tricky because the pike will get penned if you give the angle to it at all. Tanks like American tanks with a flat front. Like, if you go out to, like, side scrape with a flat front, and... actually, the mod 1 can come over here. Got a flat front, I'll show you what I mean. So just take that spot on the wall here.
15 seconds.
Oh, short room. I'll have to show it in another thing.
Oh, guys.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah, I'm logging in now.
Okay, Scotty, what exactly are we doing?
Should we switch to our T-29?
I got one.
No, whatever tank you kind of want to learn how to side scrape in is good. So things like anything like heavy or like a T-54 Mod 1, any tank that has armor, you can learn to side scrape in, and I'll bring something that kind of has fast shots.
Now, Mustang, we were debating, we had some, a while back, we were practicing side scraping with T-29s, and generally speaking, we couldn't get T-29s to side scrape for a damn. Are they a good side scraping tank or no?
Depends. I think they changed American tracks a little, but it depends on what you're fighting and the angle you're using.
Yeah, I think we were T-29s and T-150s. Even T-150s were able to pen on the side. It depended on the angle. Obviously, you had a severe angle.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. But at the severe angles, you couldn't back out enough to take a shot.
Yeah. Typically, like side scraping doesn't mean like. Side scraping doesn't mean you take a shot at the same time as the other guy and you bounce, because that doesn't work. Then you expose too much of your tank. Side scraping means like you bait your tank until he fires at your side scrape and it bounces or tracks you, and then when you repair, you get your free shot in because you have a shell loaded and he's still reloading.
Gotcha.
So, actually, KV5 is a good idea.
Alright, I'm in now.
I have for the loadout. Fire a whole bunch of.
Havoc, you in? Okay.
Yeah, I'm in now. No invite yet.
You want to increase the timer?
Yeah. I'll push the time up to like 15 minutes.
Here's Havoc. Something heavy, Havoc?
Yep.
Keep in mind it basically you have to spend a while with a tank working with it until you learn its side scrape angle, because every tank has a different side scrape angle. Some tanks just have too many track hit points, like T-32s. They have track hit points, so even with side scrape you still just get shot in the side and penned sometimes, even although it shouldn't. But basically every tank has its angles that you can get away with. Some tanks more so than others, like KV5s and stuff like that. T-28 prototype can't really side scrape. It doesn't really have tracks or side skirts, but anything with like spaced armor in the side works really well for side scraping. Especially because it'll usually, if they shoot along your armor, it'll pen like the first layer and just ricochet off the inside layer. Like IS-6 works really well for that too. Maybe I'll bring an IS-6.
Everybody in?
I think so.
Devo, you there? Oh, I think we lost Devo. Oh, he's back.
Nope, I'm here, man.
So Mustang, with the KV5, is it better to like back your the backside up to a building in reverse?
Yeah, KV5's better to reverse side scrape. It's got a crap ton of weak spots, but I like baiting with a KV5 because it has super strong side. It's got like super strong side armor, so you can side scrape really well in a KV5. And the trick with that is like most tanks that you would pen shooting in the side at that angle, like 90% of the tanks you would just pen at that angle, but you won't pen a KV-5 at that angle, so you bait it really hard, and people will fire thinking they're going to pen. They don't pen, and then you shoot them, and only the smart players know. Usually the good players are the only ones that know, like, no, that's not going to pen, and then they wait to shoot like one of your like 15 weak spots, because the KV-5's got like weak spots everywhere that are really easy to pen. Yeah, maybe I'll show it on the KV-5 then.
Yeah, I'll bring mine in then to learn.
We can launch it whenever. Like the same area. Oh, God. Jackson won't be able to side scrape at all.
Let's get this show on the road.
Huh. Never knew the KV-5 had a digital camo.
Doesn't. The Clan Wars camo.
Nice.
Looks awful Canadian.
It does.
It's exactly what we use.
You can only get this camo through Clan Wars rewards.
Nice.
It's really nice.
Any more batteries?
I will beat them.
Okay. So things like with a KV-5, I guess I'll show it frontally. Okay, so I'll use the Tiger 2 for my example. Okay, so say I'm fighting the Tiger 2. I come up to the corner. How I fight the Tiger 2 is you can come out like this at this angle. Pretty much. Like, this is a solid angle where that Tiger 2 Barrett has shots at. Like, generally most of those angle shots would pen a lot of American tanks and PDs, pretty much all that stuff. But just baiting like this, you'll probably bounce my side. You just fire a shot. So, like, you bait really well like this with a KV-5. You generally want to kind of come into a normal, regular angle. So like if you want to keep like your regular kind of like 90-degree angle, and then you twitch out to the side, and then people kind of want to fire, so whenever you feel like you have a shot, Tiger, you can go. So basically you're kind of twitching your rear in and out. Oh, he shot me in the turret anyways. But that just proves the weak spots of the KV. Just try shooting my side just for the demo. Whenever you think you can pen my side of my tank.
Okay.
Come at an angle like this. Probably. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's too much. Okay. But basically, like looking at the tank, like the cupola is a weak spot on the hatch. The giant R2-D2s in the front are a weak spot. All the turret, like, slanted armor is all weak spots. Like, you can pen this tank pretty much anywhere. It's super easy to pen, but the one thing you don't want to shoot is its side skirts. So, like, just kind of, even at a big, harsh angle, like, sitting like this, I bounce, like, almost all of his shots. And this is a really big angle, too. Like, to get people, I would never side scrape at an angle like this unless I knew my tank could pen or bounce it. What else? Yeah, you can reverse side scrape pretty well in the KV5. However, it exposes your turret a decent amount too, so like reverse side scraping works pretty well. However, your turret also has like the weak spots on it, right? All the angles on the turret are weak spots. Most people don't realize that, but if you literally like drive at an enemy with your ass armor like angled out like this, they panic and they just shoot. So I think you might at this angle. I think you're over there. I think that angle you pretty much bounce half my ass. But Tiger 2's got high pen. Most tanks will just bounce off half the time. We'll take like a KV5, you can put it on cap and reverse side scrape like this, and if people fire from a distance, they'll bounce half their shots. It's really retarded. Basically, that's all you do. So you guys can grab like a corner and just work across from somebody, work across a corner from somebody else and just have the like practice side scraping against each other and shooting for the sides. Things that aren't going to be able to do that, the Jackson, the T-28 prototype, the AMX won't be able to do it, and Karen will have a tougher time with it, but should be able to at least do it.
Hey Mustang, could you work with me? Because since you're a KV5, you can show me if I'm doing it right.
Yeah. I can't see the tanks lit on the map.
I'm on the south side. Farthest side.
Oh, okay.
And that stops you from shooting tanks.
Yeah, well, let's say I'm like out on the corner here. Like I'm out.
Havoc's
like more of a realistic.
Hold down and side script.
Come on, Ren, try to get me.
2
seconds.
Yeah, this would be more of a realistic kind of fight. So basically at this angle, like, we're pretty much going to bounce off each other's sides, pen all the weak spots, but basically, like, just try and get me to fire. I got AP loaded, so I won't be able to... Yeah, you can even come out on an angle. That right there is probably the max angle you want to go. It'll probably bounce off.
So should I
crappy
keeping on this angle, like if I was in a game, or do I want to kind of twitch around more?
You want to twitch around, like depending, like you want to make it look like that angle is the penable angle. Like every now and then, you like when you side scrape, you want to make sure that every time you kind of do it, every now and then, is a chance where they can actually pen you. So when you actually give them a slight chance to pen you, they'll take the risk of firing sometimes.
Okay.
If they know that you're side scraping really well, they won't even bother trying to pen you.
If you think about it, they're looking for weak spots. They're aiming at weak spots. If you
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, like, if you keep side scraping and moving around, eventually they're gonna fire. Like,
I popped that one in your
Side
cheek.
of the cupola is pretty bouncy too. But basically, at all times while you're side scraping, it's just trying to bait them into a solid non-pen shot, and that just consists of giving them shots that they can pen and giving them shots that they can't pen. And that's why you want to twitch in and out of those angles as quickly as you can, because the faster you can do it, you open and close that window, the more likely they are to fire at it. Firing AP. But some APR shells.
Is that a garbage can or something? Whatever it is, it's blocking my shot.
Alright, so like you can pull out pretty big side scraping in a KB5
I gotcha.
and get away with it.
The reverse angle, so I'm assuming you can't do like that dramatic of a side scrape since you have your R2-D2 on the back, right?
On the R2-D2's on the front, but when you reverse side scrape, you can't go so dramatic because of the turret. Like you open your cupolas and the cheeks on your turret the entire time. So like I can just shoot you straight in the cheek, right? I'll just pen. Same thing with the cupola. So the KB5 is all about like DPM bullying tanks.
Okay.
Because like I've got a 6.78 second reload, so basically like if I were to fight an IS-3, because you have height advantage, you're shooting down into its lower plate or like its upper plate, so like shooting down into its angle is only going to help your shell pen.
So like right where it's like that triangle, like the flat piece, before it slants on the front of the IS-3 is where you want to shoot it?
No, you'd want to shoot a slant. So like if I'm fighting with an IS-3, I'd want to get up close. It's like if where's Wolf? Like looking at Wolf here, right? Like if I were to fight Wolf's tank and I were on the corner over here, me being at this angle, like how tall the KV5 is aiming down into his plate increases the angle that I'm going to pen. So having that angle in a close range fight favors in me, and the fact that the damage is only 300 from your shell and his is 390, he might want to trade. However, when he fires, he's reloading for like 10 to 11 seconds, and you're reloading for 7. So you have more than enough time to put 600 damage into him for his 400 into you, and you have more hit points.
That makes sense.
And you can side scrape better.
So
yeah.
Okay.
If Wolf is facing up with the KB5, shouldn't he pull up to that dead carcass and try to give you like sort of side scraping and use that?
If you're fighting with a KB5, all you want to do when you fight with a KB5 is you make sure that he won't have continuous shots at you, so you can get out of the open and behind something. Otherwise, you give him the chance to DPM you to death. If you can side scrape battle with a KB5, all you do is you shoot him in a weak spot, you have high pen, you're more than likely to pen the KB5 every time, and then you just hide when you reload. The entire time you're reloading, until you have like 1 second left on reload, is when you start baiting shots again. Like if you start baiting shots while you're reloading right after that, there's no point, because if he fires again, you're still reloading, and the KB5 is still going to reload before you shoot you again. There's no point doing that. You bait the shot, reload, and stay safe. And then when you're really close to reloading, you go back to baiting the shot, and so if he fires, you're just going to reload right away, and then get back into the battle.
So if an IS-3 gets up close and personal, I should hit the commander's cupola?
An IS-3 sort of face hug right here. Like, I face hug the IS-3. You can just shoot it in the top of the head. You have all the height, like, you just shoot right in the top of the head like I did.
Oh, so
it won't matter. No, the top of the tanks are like extremely weak everywhere. Yeah, it's the thinnest armor is the top of a tank on any tank.
Okay.
So the KV-5 being face hug will get penned in its R2-D2 speed, but you have D6 gun depression to aim down, and you have height to just pen the roof constantly.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
I may have to go, guys. My wife is showing me her boobies.
Have
Tell
fun.
them to put them things away. You're playing tanks.
Put them online, we'll all go.
Gotta take a credit card for that.
Where do you shoot this T-28?
The T-28 Proto?
Yeah.
Like frontally, if you just turn your turret towards me, I just shoot you in the stars at the side. The KV-5's got really crappy pen, but here, let's see. I have backup. That'll give me a lot more room.
Oh, now he's almost dead.
Yeah. But basically, like, the T-20... Yeah, I don't have enough pen on this.
What do you do? Like the machine gun ball?
Can shoot it, however, it's usually really hard to hit from a longer distance. Generally, the trick is you aim for the American stars on the cheeks.
Okay.
You have to have a decent amount of pen to go through.
What about the machine gun port on the front there?
It works, but it's even smaller of a spot to hit. Because, like, when you rotate through that gun port, like, half the spots will bounce and half the spots will pen.
Just the flat spots on the cheek.
The flat spots on the cheek will generally bounce shells. Like, where...
So, what you said earlier about my AMX that I brought, that AMX M45,
Yeah.
there's no point in even trying to side scraping that thing, apparently.
Yeah, things with,
Anything French.
like here, you go to this here.
Well, what about the Tier 8 one, the AMX 5100?
Again, same thing. If you don't have like any armor on the sides, when you look at the tank, it's pretty much just gonna go straight through. Like with a 5100, like it would have to be like a flush shot, and you hope that they hit you in the tracks and not in the hull because it'll go through your hull. Rarely will you ever bounce in a French tank. Typically, yeah, even the heavies. If you go to that link,
T28 prototype.
yeah, like you can tell, like if you go to like
Joined your channel.
should be on the 3D model.
Hello.
But basically, there's a different things up in the top left corner where it says collision. You can click that and drop down. Usually hybrid is what I like. It shows you like a picture of the tank inside the collision model, so you can kind of get a decent idea of what it looks like while you're shooting. But you kind of rotate around the machine gun port, and you'll see how it goes from like 150 to like immediately up to like 200 in spots when you're highlighting. It's really twitchy. So if you don't hit like the perfect spot in there, you're just gonna bounce half the time with tier 8 tanks, even tier 9 or 10 tanks, unless you're firing a gold round. It's just even safer to go through the upper plate. However, the distance and the angle that you're looking at the tank change the amount of armor on it too. So whether you zoom in close or zoom in far away, the effective armor value will grow or increase. But like the cheeks on the T28 prototype,
does the front sprocket do any damage?
No. If it's sideways, it should, yes.
Alright, German tanks I know do, but I wasn't sure about the T28 prototype.
Some tanks will and some tanks won't. You can that thing on the left hand side that looks like a tiny pie chart is also its turret. So if you drag your mouse around in there, you can move the turret and check out its gun depression and stuff while you do that, and gun elevation. Yeah, so, but tank like the T-28 prototype, generally, if you just shoot it like right in the flat side, you'll just bounce half the time. Because if you look at it, it is slanted as well. So when you're from a far distance, as you keep moving the distance back, basically the effective armor becomes a little more. And it's easy for him to wiggle his turret, but you'll notice, like, if you go from the flat part on the turret, depending on where you're sitting at, it's like 213 is where I got it right now. But if you go over to the stars from there, it's like 20 millimeters thicker where the star would be on the tank. So that's why I say shoot it in the stars, just because the stars on the American tank is usually the weakest part of that turret, and it's the easiest part to kind of hit. And it's a nice, easy part to remember, just like shoot it in the star, and 20 millimeters thinner than the flat part.
Hello.
Yo.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Who's this? Zach?
Yeah, Zach's here.
I might.
Pretty simple. You do or you don't.
Yeah. But yeah, side scraping is basically like you can also look at that tab. So like you can pull up like whatever tank you kind of want to side scrape with. There's like up at the top says browse tanks. I usually use the tech tree, it's easy to find what you want. And you can grab like whatever tank you want. So like click on the T-29, and then there it brings up the stats and modules and stuff of the tank, and you bring up a 3D model. And you just play with the tank on its side, right? So you can hit turn the T-29, and you can see as like you go down the tracks like how its armor and stuff is everywhere. And it tells you what armor is there as well. So like so like shooting through like one piece of the track is like 4 different sprockets of 20 millimeter spaced armor from the tracks that the shell would have to travel through, and then 76 millimeters of armor at a 32 degree armor angle equals an automatic ricochet with 301 millimeters effective armor.
User joined your channel.
But it all depends on where you shoot and what you hit on the tank too, right? As well as may or may not roll plus or minus 25% on your pen chance with your shot. So that has to be taken into effect too sometimes.
And what website are you looking at?
The link is in TeamSpeak.
All right.
Got it. I can. Up there it is.
Thank you.
Good website to use to kind of learn weak spots on tanks and how to pen them.
User disconnected.
Like when
from
you
your
need to
channel.
fight tanks, like you basically kind of look at where its effective armor is, spots are, what the kind of weakest point on the tank is, and you go with that, and you learn like, okay, here's a weak spot on the tank, here's a weak spot on the tank. And you can see the color codings, the right hand side with the purple to blue, like turquoise colors, those are all spaced armor, and then like green to red is all like solid armor. So basically it's like the gun mallet up front is spaced armor with solid armor, so it's basically like pretty much just gonna bounce that the entire time, which is why the T-29 can hull down so well. You scroll your mouse along the surface of the T-29, you go upwards of like 600, 1,129 millimeters in some areas. Like, there's no way you're going to pen some spots on this turret, especially at tier 7. It's never going to happen. The only things that might go through are like tier 10 TDs. Unless you're shooting at, of course, in the cupola up top or the roof of the tank. However, you also have to keep in mind that it may say like 70 millimeters on the roof of the tank at like a 60-degree angle does like result 100% chance pen that you would go through. It's not going to happen in a real battle. It's just taking into account that your shot's going to go straight into that and not slide along the armor, which will happen in game. But yeah, that's if you want to kind of learn how to side scrape and weak spots on tanks, just kind of that, and you kind of learn like how much you can get away with. So you can just go through the tanks on there. That'll tell you how much you can kind of get away with, and then you just practice with the tank. But that's the only real way you're gonna understand how to properly side scrape is by practicing it in battles. But the trick with side scraping is not to trade shots. It's when you side scrape means you bounce and then you shoot. It doesn't mean bounce at the same time. If the guy is really hesitant, what you can do sometimes if you're in a quick tank is you can try and bait the shot, and if that doesn't work, you back up at like a solid angle that isn't going to be penned, and then you back up quickly and drive forward just as quickly, and you just fire in between. So as soon as you would have a shot in a split second, you fire and then drive forward again. If he's just sitting there stalemate. And typically that'll kind of force him to do something from that point. Every now and then you'll get people who are like all the patience in the world and they'll just sit there and aim. Don't have the time to sit there and play around with them, so that's what I'll do. And like meat tanks, I'll just back up, shoot them, and pen them, and then drive right back forward if they're taking their time. But you have to kind of learn how to with a small window of time, and you also at the same time when you're doing that, your shot's gonna not go where you want it to place half the time just because of dispersion and your tank rocking back and forth.
Yeah, I posted a link to the Super Pershing. If you want to take a look. We got owned by one earlier this evening.
Sorry guys, I have to blaze. I have an emergency call.
Alright.
User disconnected from your channel.
So when looking at like the 3D module, I mean the 3D model, like it telling you like the difference, like so red is like 150, like for the OI.
Hey,
does that mean that you have to have a pen higher than that to actually penetrate that thickness?
At that shot, yes.
Okay.
So it's 150 millimeters effective from where you're shooting it. If you turn the tank like sideways and like shoot alongside the armor, obviously the effective amount goes up. So you have to keep in mind that like however you're shooting it, if it wiggles its angle at all in like the slightest bit, it changes the armor value by quite a bit too, depending on the tank.
Alright.
Which is UI.
Yeah, if you look at the little window that pops up, it tells you whether or not it's a pen or absorbed.
Yeah, so like for example, like if you look at the front plate where it's like pretty much like 220 millimeters, and then you turn the tank like just an inch or two, it immediately goes up to like 240, 230. So just those small wiggles buffs your armor a lot and brings that upper plate, you know, in the middle about 160 on the far side up to 250. On the inside goes up to about 157, 158. So just that small bit of angling gives it extra effectiveness for the armor. Which is why you'll see like a lot of players just do the random wiggle back and forth, is because depending on where you fire, it's basically better than sitting still. Just wiggling like that will always pretty much give you an extra chance to have a little bit more angle when he fires on your armor.
Alright. So where would the best part to shoot at OI if you were facing him frontward?
In between those turrets.
Okay.
Like in the front or the sides.
Alright.
If you can hit those little viewports, it'll damage his vision sometimes, which is nice. If you can break his vision, then you'll have to rely on other people spotting. But the OI frontally is pretty solid. If you turn it sideways, it's basically like auto pen everywhere. The trick at tier 6 is just to drive beside the OI and shoot it.
So he can't shoot you.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So what are we doing now?
Is Wolf there?
Yeah.
What kind of training would you like? Side scraping, there's only so much I can kind of teach with a small bit of knowledge. Side scraping, side scraping is just basically most of the experience. Now that like people understand the fact you don't trade shots and general angles, and they can inspect how to kind of side scrape proper tanks and stuff like that. You just got to work with it with experience, and battles is basically the next part. In a training room doesn't a whole lot either, because training rooms they're gonna try and pen the usually spots.
We can do the side scraping offline. I think we one training night we can do it. I think the benefit of that is we can try out different tanks and stuff like that. I think they as he was pointing out, is it's going to be different from tank to tank. So you want to have an opportunity to try out different ones.
No, I mean, like, what do you think we should have Mustang go over?
Well, guys, I gotta cut out. It's getting late for me. Bedtime.
Yeah, have a good night.
Take you tomorrow.
User disconnected from your